It won't be.
Okay, hi everybody. Alan's doing some sort of technical 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in what I assume is something that only videographers know at the back. Welcome. Hello to people whose this is their first time, and hello to people who've come back. It's nice to see familiar faces. First off, I'm Jamie. I'm the organizer and host of GlasgowJS and EdinburghJS. I'd like to say a few thanks to get started with. The first thanks is to Glasgow City Council for giving us some money from their Tech Meetup fund, to Barclays Eagle Lab for hosting us tonight and for paying for the pizza, and also to Scotland Is, who have decided that they can sponsor us for our live streams for the next couple of months in both Glasgow and Edinburgh. So I'm really grateful for that sponsorship. I mean, I'm sure you guys realise, like, events like this don't just happen. You know, booze has to turn up, pizza has to turn up, and it's people providing a little bit of money to help the community that really makes events of this sort of scope and scale able to exist. So thank you very much to all of our sponsors. Little thanks to Fraser Merrifield, wherever he is. Is he in the room, or is it? Yep, for the speaker tonight. Appreciate it, and thank you for all the referrals you've been doing. Thought I'd give you a shout out at the start there, because it is very much appreciated. And just to say, there's a whiteboard outside. The people who make Wallaby.js and Quokka.js, which are kind of like in-editor like testing tools and kind of console feedback tools for JavaScript, they've given us some free licenses. So if you want I don't know how we're going to pick, but stick your name from the board and we'll figure out how we're going to pick during the talks. And you might be in luck and get a free license for that. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Francis, who's going to build a mobile app in 15 minutes, live. Cheers.
Thanks, Jamie. Hi, everyone. Lovely to see your lovely faces. Thank you so much for giving up your Tuesday evening to come and hear these talks. Psyched to give you this talk. I think it's going to be fun. I'm literally going to set a timer and like build an app for you. What could go wrong? Sure, it'll be fine. I've got a bit of blurb before that exciting bit, though, just to give you a bit of my background and a little bit of introductions. So my first development job was way back in prehistoric times. 2006. Anybody here else develop around 2006? Yay! Yay! There's a couple of us. So at that time, I worked at Bollywood TV, and we were the world's largest content rights holder for Bollywood content. And we had a subscription streaming service way before like Netflix, before there were smart TVs, even smartphones. Like, it was wild. We all hoped to be millionaires on our share options, and unfortunately didn't quite happen. I think we were too early, if anything. But I really enjoyed working there. But the developer experience was very different to how it is today. My workflow was to hand code in Notepad and then FTP the files up to the server, and that was the deployment process. Like, there was no version control. I don't know how we managed without it. No syntax highlighting, no linting, no formatter, no CI/CD pipelines, no JS libraries. Can you imagine? Stack choices were a lot simpler back then. I think jQuery actually came out in 2006, but not in time for me to use it. Anyway, while I was doing that job, I really fell in love with the people side of technology and like why do people use a piece of software, and to what end, how does it help them with their goals? And I actually moved career into user experience and user experience adjacent positions, and I did that for 11 years, focusing on user research, information architecture, digital strategy, more that than visual design. And what happened in one of my latest, I think my 2017 service design gig, I was working on this amazing team of designers who could all code, and we all collaborated on a prototype for user testing, and we just went like wild with it. It was responsive. I implemented like full address lookup with like an API key that I bought myself, like full document upload, and I was just like, man, I really love this. I really enjoy like creating stuff. This has really made me come alive. Like maybe I should go back like to development. And I did. It was a huge life decision because I took a 70% pay cut to join the graduate engineering program at Skyscanner, which is an amazing place to work. I was a full stack dev there, doing everything from like front end in React to back end in Python, Java, infrastructure projects, big migration projects, Kubernetes. I had exposure to like the whole software engineering lifecycle. It was very interesting, but what I really wanted was to have like focus and to build technical depth of expertise in something. And so I moved into front end almost like 2 years ago to the day, and now I work at Clio. They're a fintech scale up in London. I work for them remotely. We're hiring, so I'll give them a shout out at the end. So I work on their React Native mobile app. As soon as I passed my probation, I was like, I'm so sorry, but I'm pregnant. And I went off for like a year to do maternity leave. So I've actually really only got 1 year React Native experience, but I think it's enough for an introductory talk. So enough about me. I've got a question for you. Raise your hands if you have ever had an idea for a side project. Yay, lots of people. And I keep them raised if you have also developed and released that project and people are using it. Yeah? Oh, still a few hands. Oh, well done, but a few. I applaud you. It's not easy at all. So I just wanted to say, like, I totally get it. Like, life gets in the way. Like, you have a full-time job, a house to manage, dinners to cook, to clean, the laundry, life admin. Then you're supposed to fit in fun and exercise. Like, when are you supposed to do your side projects? I fully understand. And so I just want to talk a bit about, like, how this talk came about, because Fraser put me up, as you know. Thanks, Fraser. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do a tech talk. I've never done one before. It'd be a good challenge. What should I do? What happened? These are my 2 daughters. Aren't they cute? You might recognise the one on the right. She came to the January meetup. It was her first ever meetup. She was very inspired. She left a trail of like baby crisps at the back. Sorry about that. Anyway, Isabella, she loves to swipe. She likes to swipe my watch, swipe my phone, but she's always getting into trouble. She's like phoning the emergency services, blocking people on YouTube, all kinds of stuff. Even if I give her like a dedicated baby app and I put it on guided access where like they can only use that app, she's still like trying to upgrade to like the premium plan. And I'm like, my goodness, I wish there was an app where she could just swipe to her heart's content and there was no consequence, no data collection, no upsell. And I don't know what possessed me, but like one night when she went down for a nap, like instead of doing the washing up, I sat on my Mac and I just coded up an app for her. This app's is called Isabella. I haven't released it yet, but I'm going to, if there are any parents out there interested. You swipe in one direction, it changes the color, and you swipe in another direction and it changes the animal. You swipe diagonally, it does both, and if you interact with it by tapping or pinch zoom gestures, because my baby's always using multiple fingers, then it animates, and it also makes baby sounds of her laughing. Like, it's really cute. She loves using it. And like the majority of this app I built that evening, like in just a couple of hours. And it really got me thinking, wow, I've spent years like making excuses, like legitimate excuses, like why I couldn't progress my side projects, and like, look what I've just done, like in a few hours. And so like, even if you don't get like much from the technical side of this talk, like that's one of my main messages for you today, that, you know, maybe you won't finish the whole project, but you could make quite a dent in one evening if you just like don't do the washing up. So yeah, don't do the washing up. Right, so I'm just going to give you a little intro to React Native. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar. Anyway, this is a JavaScript meetup, but just in case. It's a framework for building mobile apps in JavaScript, like specifically React. You just write the code once and you can deploy it across iOS and Android. And they're proper apps that appear in the App Store, the Play Store, like very impressive to your friends and family. They use native components, so the user experience is nice. It's not like a janky web view. And you can access the device features like camera, geolocation, all the stuff I've listed there, which I always find like super exciting. The developer experience is nice. There's like hot reloading, and it's quite widely used. Like Discord built their app in React Native, Shopify, Tesla. There's a whole like showcase if you look at the React Native documentation of all the companies that use React Native. And a little bit on Expo, because I'm using that as well. This is just a platform that sits alongside React Native that just offers like a simplified developer experience. Just makes it easy to like build and manage your apps. Comes with like a ready-made suite of components you can use. They're pretty good for like accessing device features. Just generally makes things easier so you can like focus on the features you want to develop and less on setup and config. Like you only need Node and Watchman. You don't need to install Xcode and Android Studio and all that faff. It is actually recommended as the sort of default option if you look in the React Native documentation. So I see no reason why you wouldn't always start with Expo. If for any reason it doesn't work for you, you can always eject. So in terms of the app that we're going to code up, I thought like quite a bit about what I could show you. And the temptation was to show you something very like visually engaging and like beautiful, like maps. Like maps are really nice to sort of interact with. You can like show how easy it is to switch providers and overlay data like traffic data, put markers on. I even like put a marker of hello.js on this building. But then I thought, what would be of most use to you? Like if you were building an app, like what elements tend to be very common and they tend to look a bit more boring, but that's what I went for. So I'll show you how to get started by like generating a project with all the sort of boilerplate that Expo gives you. Launch an iPhone simulator, implement tab navigation, an input field for user input with a button that then hits an API, returns some data, show you a loading state. Don't think I'll be able to do much more than that in 15 minutes. So just to say, it is only 15 minutes. Like this is not even a 1 point Jira ticket. This is like half a point. And so in terms of scope, like it's not going to be pretty. I won't have time for like fancy UI or animation. No real architecture. I'm going to do the whole thing in one file. No tests. No error handling, and I'm not going to sanitize the data input either. So I'm not going to like submit this as a technical test for an interview. But with that being said, let's set the timer. I'm excited. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is just come up with get the command to create that boilerplate code here for the TypeScript project. Not actually going to use TypeScript, it's just that it makes the auto imports work better in VS Code for some reason. Right, there we go, we've started. Right, this is like the riskiest part, right? Because as soon as I hit this and put it in my terminal, it takes anything from 30 seconds to 2 minutes for this to go down. So guess age. So let me tell you a little bit about the app we're going to build. It's going to have 2 screens, so 2 tabs. I'm only really going to work on the first tab. I'm going to have an input field and a button. The input field will take your first name, then it's going to hit an API called Ageify, which from its millions of data points is going to estimate how old you are based on your name. Super simple, just a GET request, stick the name on the param at the end, comes back with some data. Yeah, this is still taking a little while. While we're waiting, like, does anybody here have React Native experience? Like, just put your hand up if you do. A couple of people, maybe. What about React? Yeah, much more, much more. Okay, so like React skills translate like almost directly to React Native. A nice way to think about it is like React is the library for building UIs. The React DOM is the thing that translates it for a browser. React Native translates for native apps. So that's kind of a way you might think about it. Hey, voila, it has finished. So I'm going to move into the directory and I'm going to open it up in VS Code. I'll make this a lot bigger, don't worry. For you lot at the back. This is the boilerplate Expo has generated. I'm going to do all my work in app.tsx. Let's make that really quite large. How's that at the back? Is that okay? Perfect. Okay, I'm going to run the command npx expo start. This is going to start the Metro bundler, which is very fast at doing what it does. This invokes Babel to do the transpiling for JSX and modern JavaScript into JavaScript that the engine can understand. And it's also bundling up all the source files and assets into one file. And I'll show you that when I open up an iOS simulator by pressing I. And you'll be able to see at the bottom and down here as well, how much percentage of that bundle has downloaded. And then there you go, you can see, open up app.js, and I can replace this text and say, welcome, GlasgowJS. Oh, what have I done? Yay, you see it's hot reloaded, very exciting. So the first thing I said I'd implement was tabbed navigation. So for that, I'm going to use the React navigation library, and I'm going to install bottom tabs. I can see that timer like ticking down in the corner of my eye. CD is called guess age, wasn't it? Yeah, there we go. So we'll just install that. And then I'm going to wholesale steal this entire code for a minimal example of tab-based navigation. Literally, bye-bye, hello. And then you'll see that we have tabs. Isn't that amazing? The title changes at the top there. But they don't look very nice. We want nice icons at the bottom, don't we? So luckily, Ionic have this really nice set of icons we can use. You can like search for them, choose the one you want. What I'm going to do is steal the code for this at the bottom here, customizing the appearance. I'm going to just do the import that it recommends here. If you have Expo, that's what it says there. Just whack that in there, put that in some quotes, save that, and then steal the app component. Ooh. My trackpad's got nerves. All right, so I'm going to overwrite all of that with this, and then you'll see that it's sort of working. We've got icons now, but it's not actually recognizing the ones that we've given in the example. I just happen to know that there are some icons called home and settings, which is what these tabs are called, so I'm going to replace these like so, and then you will see that we now have beautiful tabs. And if you want to, you can like customize the colors of like how they look. Quite like the tomato, personally. I'm going to put it back. One of the good things about this is that accessibility is built into these. It's always good to check your apps with the accessibility inspector, which kind of tells you how a screen reader would interpret it. And I've checked this, and it says like 1 item of 2, button. Like it tells you everything you need, so I don't need to give it any extra markup for this, which is good. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is put in that text input. 10 minutes to go, no stress. Right, so that's auto inputted. Right, I want this to be a controlled component, so I'm going to use React state for that. By default, name is going to be an empty string. And what I'll do is I'll set the value of the input to name. And when we change the text, we'll set the name, and we'll have some placeholder text, which is enter your name. And then because we don't have a separate label, and because that enter your name will disappear when we focus on the element, we're going to have an accessibility label, which is enter your name, and we will guess your age. And then you can see we've got our input here. The keyboard comes up. You can type into it. Kind of tiny though, can't see it at the back, right? I'm going to make it bigger for you. So we'll just style this up a little bit. I'm going to put in some constants just to make my life easier with the styling. So the first thing I'll do is I'll give it a white background just so you can see what we're dealing with. Look, tiny. So I want to put some padding around that. Very nice. I'm going to get rid of the styling from the parent component because that's what's centering everything. And then you'll see it go to the top. There you go. I'm going to put in a little bit of margin. And I'm going to give it a border. And I'm going to increase the font size. Lovely, nice big input component here. Some of the interesting things you can do with this component. By default, the keyboard type is text, but you can change it if you want to things like numeric. See, it changed to numbers. Another one is like email address, similar to text, but you got a little @ symbol. All these little things that make life just a little bit more convenient for your users. It's always worth thinking about. You can also do things like auto-capitalize based on the sentence, the characters, the words. And my favorite one is the auto-complete. So this is not like an auto-suggest a restart typing and it's like, did you really mean duck? This is the one where like it auto-fills based on what it knows about you. And my God, does your device know a lot about you? Look at all that credit card data, birthday. But it is actually super handy for my app because I literally want given name. That's what I'm entering. And it works. Like when you put this on your mobile, it will work. It won't work in the simulator here. But I find that super cool. Right, 7 minutes, no stress. We've got an input, can't do anything with it. We need a button. So you've got like a number of options for buttons in React Native. You've got the button component itself. You've got various touchable elements that give you a little bit of styling out of the box. But pressable is kind of like the latest and the greatest and the one with the most data. Like you can do things like from the start of the press to the end of the press and like detect long presses. You can change the hit rectangle, like so if you've got fat thumbs, it will still press if you're slightly over it. I do wonder like if you've got like a purchase thing, if you just make the whole screen press buy, but that's a dark pattern, don't do that. So yeah, pressable, like, so this will look horrible, there's no style at all, but it is actually kind of cool. So I'm gonna make the background of this blue. Look at that, yuck. But very quickly, we can make it look reasonable. Oh, another thing you can do in React Native that for some reason you don't get this in web, but margin horizontal, margin vertical, same with padding. Cool, isn't it? Look at this. Ta-da! Beautiful. I'm going to put in a border radius, and I'm just going to align that text into the middle as well, and just make that text white and bigger. No, doesn't need a margin. Font size, font size. Lovely. Now we have an input field and a button. Still doesn't do anything. So when we press the button, oh, one more thing that's a very important, accessibility, right? A screen reader won't know what that pressable does. You need to give it a role. I'm going to give it a role of button just to make sure that that's read out. And I'm also, just for best practice, I'm going to give it a label of submit as well. Even though we have text as a child here, you can wrap this around anything. It could be like images, icons. It's just good practice to get used to like giving it the label. Right, 5 minutes. All good, no sweat. I'm going to do another state variable for the loading state. By default, this will be false because we're not loading on page load. It's on button press. And I want another state variable for the age when it comes back from the API. So by default, I'm going to give that undefined. And now to save a little bit of time, I'm going to like wholesale steal again a piece of code from the networking documentation from React Native, and I'm just going to take the entire async await fetch request from here and like adapt that function. So I'm going to call it handle submit, swap out that URL for the ageify one. It's going to get that from here. Replace this with backticks because I need to use template literal in here for the name. And then when it responds, I don't want to return JSON movies. I just want to set the age to JSON age. And the other thing I want to do is set the loading state to true when it starts, and then when it finishes, no matter what the outcome, set loading state to false. And what I'm going to do is pass that function to the onPress prop of pressable, which fires at the moment that they release. Like it's detecting when you start and then when you release, and then it fires on press. Still not going to do anything because we haven't written any JSX to sort of show you what's going to happen. So based on the loading state, like if it's loading, one of the things you get free with React Native is a loading spinner, which is called the activity indicator, and it comes in different sizes. I'm going to use large, and then I'm going to just style that up. And what does this need? It needs a bit of margin. and to be closed as well. Lovely. All right, so when I press submit now, you'll see a little loading spinner. Sweet, right? But we need to display the data as well. So I'm going to cast age to a Boolean and say, if that is true, we'll get some text up and say, we reckon you are about this age, basically. And we're going to just style that up to be large, because otherwise you won't be able to see it. Just give it a little bit of space as well. So with any luck now, if I submit a name, let's choose a nice short one. I'll press submit. We reckon you're about 74. Okay, so I've got 2 minutes left, so I can show you a couple more things. One thing is a bit annoying here, like I'm clicking around and the keyboard's not disappearing. So I can sort that with keyboard dismiss, but my favorite way of managing that is just a library called keyboard aware scroll view. So I'm just gonna download that now. And while that's running, I will just wrap the whole thing. We have views in React Native rather than divs. That's another thing you'll notice. Keyboard aware scroll view, and I'll just do the closing tag. And then what you'll see on the right there is that the keyboard would disappear. There you go. And then when I come in, appears, disappears. Lovely. Feels so nice, doesn't it? And I guess the other thing I want to do is when I click on this, it's most likely because I want to put in a new name, right? So I'll just reset the values on focus. So we'll just have another little function here. Reset values. And we'll just set the name back to empty string, and we'll set the age back to undefined. And then we'll pass that to the on focus of here. And we'll also, just for the hell of it, just to show you, there's a clear text on focus you can use as well. And so now, when I click away and then back in, ta-da, all reset. Yeah, that's my app with 40 seconds to go. Does anyone want to give me their name that's easy to spell?
James.
James, thank you. It's not, I got to tell you, it's never very flattering. 72? Anyone else?
What about Jamie? Just switch up slightly.
Oh, a more youthful version. Let's try that.
Surely not. 12.
56, a 16-year improvement. Okay, cool. Let me go back to my slides, and I'll just show you. I've got some resources on here, but literally, you can just Google any of the things I spoke about and find it yourself, to be honest. Shout out to my employer, because we're hiring. So Clio, they're based in London, but if you're a software engineer, they're quite happy for you to be remote. I've worked for them for a couple of years. Really good time, to be honest. Really great people and really interesting product. The product is, she's basically an AI chatbot that analyzes your spending and sort of roasts you for it in a very amusing way. We target Gen Z. Our customer base is largely in the US. I think we had 7 million users, but 200,000 paid subscribers. It's not just a chatbot. We have savings products, budgeting, the credit card. I work on the credit card. It's a really fun thing to work on. I've literally written Jira acceptance criteria of animate the poop and make it sparkle. And I got paid for that. So yeah, awesome. I'm not going to read all this through for you, but we're financially stable. You don't need to worry about joining us and being made redundant. That won't happen. We have runway. We're growing all the time. We're looking at our Series D funding next year. We're on the path to profitability probably later this year. And we pay well. These are our open source salary bands for the remote roles. They actually pay slightly more if you're in London and prepared to be hybrid. We're mainly recruiting mid to senior, so that's SE3, SE4. Might consider an SE2, if you're quite a strong mid. This is not my referral link, but if you scan it, you can browse the open roles on our website. But if you'd like a referral link, please feel free to come and talk to me. I'd be delighted to refer you or answer any of your questions. So thanks again. That was fun.
Cool. Thanks, Francis. That was great. I think talks that end with you could be hard are always welcome at meetups. Yeah, I think the thing that I took from that was the thing that you said at the start is that you just didn't do the washing and you made something. And I think we often forget that that's just what we can do in our jobs. We can just build something that we can use ourselves or our family can use. So I think that's fantastic. Does anybody have any questions for Francis about React Native, Expo, careers, working at Clio? Elsie? Cheers.
When do you plan to monetize your kids app? No,
Honestly, as soon as possible.
No, I was going to ask, I saw at one point you aligned items to center, but you didn't set flex. Is flex a default value in React Native, like Flexbox by default?
Such a good question. I actually don't know. I mean, it seems like it from that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, great question. I'm not sure.
Fair enough. I have a small follow-up question. Have you tried putting Clio into your name generator to see how old Clio is?
Oh my goodness, I haven't. Oh, I'm sorry. I've turned my laptop off.
That's me.
I'll check. Thank you.
It's okay. Have you faced any bug while creating this? I mean, like, you must be doing
Whilst practicing.
I mean, like, after making the app, have you ever, like, while doing some work on that, have you faced any kind of a bug which is actually not according to you, which you have faced at that moment only, and you have to fix it immediately?
Do you mean like when I've practiced?
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, I've had all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I've had all kinds of random errors, like the simulator wouldn't load up. Sometimes that download has taken minutes and minutes.
So
and
do
I'm
you
like,
use
my
any
goodness.
testing tools for that? Or you just go for the unit test or normal testing
Not
process?
for this. No. We absolutely unit test at work. We use React Testing Library, and we use Maestro for end-to-end testing.
Okay.
But we do still do quite a lot of manual testing as well, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So you, for your practice runs, what's your fastest time you've got?
I think like 12 and a half minutes. Yeah, thanks,
That's
man.
good.
Cool. Anyone else?
Just had a thought there. Could we at some point do a JavaScript like hackathon style speed run?
Yeah.
Well, we can make that happen, yeah.
Just some random Wednesday.
I was really wondering, like, if anyone knows Flutter, could you give the exact same talk in Flutter? Because I'd love to see it. Like, it would be good, wouldn't it?
Cross framework speed running.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Cool. Alan's mouthing something at me.
It's kind of general question. How do you pick a platform like React.js or React Native or Flutter for building an app?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's the inevitable difficult question that you can get really paralyzed on. Like, what stack do I build my side project in? And I've been stuck on that for years and years myself, until one day I was just like, I'm just choosing React Native, and that was as much analysis as I'd put into it. And it's because I'd done a bit of React before. I simply chose it based on what I had the most chance of like getting to speed with quickly. I think you can suffer sometimes with like premature optimization, with the questions like, oh, what's going to scale the best? You know, what's going to support like 1 million concurrent users? But Amy Hoy, I don't know if you follow her, but I love her. She says like, that question is like, what color should I paint my 9th bathroom? Like, it's a real luxury question, don't worry about it. Just get started. You can always change that stuff later, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. And on that note, we're going to take a short break for a few minutes, 5 minutes. So go and grab yourself another drink. If there's any pizza left, I don't know, get your name up on the board for Wallaby.js and Quokka.js license. And we'll be back here in about 5-10 minutes to hear from Patty. So thank you to Francis.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, everyone.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Next up is Patty. And now, down at the front here, there's some quite cool TensorFlow stickers, which you can apparently lift later. Guys, folks, hey, hello, hey, hey. Thank you. Cool. If you want stickers, there's lots of stickers down the front here. Patty's brought some. Thank you very much. So yeah, the next talk, AI and machine learning, hot topic. Figured we should cover it. And we have Patty here talking about TensorFlow.js. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hello. And first of all, I want to apologize because I'm just getting out of a cold. My voice is not the best, and I might cough, but I brought my syrup, so hopefully that won't happen. And yeah, I have a bunch of TensorFlow.js stickers. Hopefully after the session you will be in love with TensorFlow.js and you will run and get the stickers. There is only one of web machine learning. That's my favorite one, but it's only one left. So that's like the golden ticket that you have to fight for it. Usually this session is kind of an hour long, so I'm going to skip some of the slides, and I'm going to go through the code like very, very quick. But I will share with you the QR code for the repos, and you can go and have a look at the repos. Like all of the instructions are there, and you are going to be able to play and get to have fun with them. So I always start sharing a little bit of what it is that I do. If you scan that QR code, you will find my social media accounts, and you can reach out to me there if you have any questions or you like to comment anything. So yeah, you can find me there. So my name is Patty O'Callaghan. I am originally from Venezuela, so I speak Spanish, and that is why my accent is the way it is, even though I have a very Irish name. But that's because of my dad. I'm not Irish. I'm a technical leader at Charles River Laboratories. I am also a Google developer expert in AI and machine learning. I'm part of the Google's Women Tech Makers program. We just did our yearly conference in the University of Strathclyde last Saturday. It went really good. I'm also part of the organizing team of Google developer groups in Glasgow. So as you can see, I do a bunch of stuff with Google and their community programs. And they're doing a really brilliant job into supporting the community of developers. I also run a code club at my local school in Jordan Hill, and it's a really nice thing that I do. I always say that it's my favorite. So Code Club is part of the Raspberry Pi Foundation, and in the Code Club I teach kids from 10 to 16-year-olds how to code. We do a lot of machine learning projects as well. And we're part of a pilot along with Google DeepMind. So the kids are doing really brilliant stuff with AI. So that's everything that I do. And yeah, let's start because we don't have much time and I talk a lot. All right, so this is the URL. Sorry that I'm not sharing the QR code. This is the URL for the whole workshop that I usually run. So if you go over there, I don't know if you want to take a picture of it, you will see like step by step everything that you need to do. There's like a very extensive explanation of everything that I'm going to tell you today. But yeah, if you go there, you will be able to follow along the workshop like step by step at home. And this is what you will see. So basically what we do in this workshop is that we are going to use a machine learning model that is pre-made and pre-trained. So it's already, we can use it already out of the box, and we can use it included into our JavaScript code using TensorFlow.js. And this one, particularly what it does, is that it recognizes up to 80 common objects. And it will give you like the level, like the percentage of confidence that that object that has been recognized is actually what it is. Which is very weird, because if it recognizes persons, it's weird to say like you're 72% of a person. That is weird, but it's just maths. So the cool thing about TensorFlow.js is that you can very easily, and I will tell you about it, there's a bunch of different kind of machine learning models that you can use. They're pre-made and pre-trained. And if you have experience as a web developer, if you have working knowledge of JavaScript, which I bet all of you have because otherwise you wouldn't be here, and you know about web development, you can really include machine learning in your projects, in your web projects really easily. So for example, this is an app that was made by some of the guys on the Tensorflow.js team. And basically, one of them had like an old cell phone with this model that we are going to use. What he did was to set up a stream. And as soon as the stream recognized or detected a pet near a football, it will send a message to the owner saying, okay, the pet is eating all the biscuits or whatever. So it's very, very easy to implement, and I will show you how. So okay, again, because of time, I'm going to go through the slides and just explain very briefly what is that we're going to do. So again, everything that the whole point of Tensorflow.js, or one of the main things, is that you can actually run machine learning models in the browser. Or you can run these models on your local machine without needing to have like very powerful hardware. Like you need to do, for example, if you're going to run maybe LLM or things like that. So what is Tensorflow.js? It's amazing because it's open source. It's an open source library that allows us to run machine learning anywhere JavaScript can. And as you know, that's a bunch of places. And that is also one of the main benefits of using this library. And we can do a bunch of things with it. So again, we can run existing machine learning models. Some of them, again, are pre-made, or maybe you have created some models on Python. You can convert them and use them with TensorFlow.js. You can also retrain existing models, and that is with a method that is called transfer learning. Does anyone have heard about transfer learning before? So basically, a good way to explain this in a basic way is, let's say that you have a model that recognizes cats. You can use the same model and retrain it with your own training data set, but maybe this time around you wanted the model to recognize dogs because the attributes are similar, you know, 4 legs and the ears and so on. You can use that model and retrain it with this new training data set, and you can skip a lot of steps on the machine learning, development cycle that are usually, they can be expensive in terms of money and resources. For example, you can spend a lot of money gathering the training data, or maybe you can spend money on the servers that you need to train these models. So you can just grab this model and retrain. And then, of course, you can write your own models from scratch, which is pretty, pretty cool. And like I told you before, cool thing about JavaScript is you can run it in a bunch of different places. So, of course, in the browser, you can run it on the server side with Node.js. On mobile, you can run it on native desktop applications. And in Internet of Things, with my favorite piece of hardware, which is the Raspberry Pi, obviously via Node as well. And this is pretty cool. This is one of the things that I love the most about TensorFlow.js. And it's all the cool things that you can have if you can run the models on the browser, on the client side. So first of all, it's high privacy. And this is because, let's think about the one that I'm going to show you today that is going to recognize objects. The model is running on the device, right? And all the and the inference is happening on the device as well. So let's say if we're showing faces, those faces are not like those pictures are not going to travel to a third-party server where the inference is going to happen. That is just not going to happen. Everything happens on the device. So obviously the privacy is very, very high. And because of that, the latency is lower. Because again, you don't have to send, information to a server to do the inference, for the model to do the inference over there and then bring the information over again. You don't have to do that, so obviously the latency is much, much lower. You have the reach and scale of the web because you can host it just like you host any other website, and that's pretty easy nowadays. Obviously, depending on the size of the model that you're creating, but it's easy. And you can put your model and you can put your AI application on the web for everyone to use, and it's like you open it up for a bunch of people, the world, to be able to use it. And the serving cost is very low because it's like counting, hosting a website. Okay, so let's talk about the pre-trained models. So I'm going to go very briefly through the ones that are available. So we have different pre-trained models that are ready to use. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to integrate them in your web application. So we have vision, human body, text, sound, and others that are a little bit more specific. If you go to this URL, you're going to be able to have a look at the list. They are the Tensorflow.js team. They're always adding new models. So I will highly recommend you, if you're interested, to go there and have a look. So for example, we can do image classification. I'm going to show you a tool that we can use as well. Object detection, that is the one that we're going to do now. Body segmentation, you can recognize like the head or the arms and so on. Face landmark is also super cool. Pose estimation. I always tell there was a kid in the Code Club that did a website with an application. He trained a model for the little kids. He's a black belt in karate. So he trained a model for the little kids at his karate academy to train the kata moves that are very specific moves. So they trained the model with the pose estimation model, and they were able to do it like with very little guidance. That is how easy this is to use. And then we have a bunch of other kind of models that sadly I don't have the time to cover them all. So what are the benefits of using the pre-made models? Again, you don't need to gather the training data yourself because they're already trained, already ready to use. You can start doing your prototypes with lower cost. You don't need to train your models. You can use, obviously, state-of-the-art research because this comes from the AI teams at Google. The documentation is really good. And again, you can do the transfer learning, but just for some of the models. So for the one that we are going to use today, it's called the Coco SSD model. And what it does, again, is that it recognizes 80 common objects. And this model was trained over a data set that was curated by Microsoft. That is called the Common Objects in Context. And I wanted to show you, because I have here, well, these are all of the classes that are part of that data set. So for example, you can recognize fork, knife, broccoli. There is 80 objects, a toaster, and so on. Okay, and it's called SSD because it uses the single-shot detection architecture. So for example, if you're analyzing a stream of video, it will analyze like frame by frame, and in each frame it will recognize the objects that are there. So if you go to this URL, you will find it's like the template, but I have it ready here. And here you can see it running, so let's wait until it loads. And I think I'm going to explain the code here. Can you see okay, or should I put it like a little bit bigger, the code?
Yeah, a little bit bigger.
Like this. So in Glitch, basically what you can do is that you can run, it's kind of an online editor, and you code and you can see it can execute the code, and you can see it like in this panel. So this is what we are doing. This is the whole code. I will explain it a little bit, but it's like almost 100 lines of code. And this is what it will do. I will enable my webcam. And as you can see here, it's recognizing me with some percentage. Let me see the bottle. Here it is. Okay. Again, 80 objects. So if you go to this URL over here, I don't know if you can see it, you will be able to see the whole code running. So I'm going to explain a little bit what you can find in the code. So first of all, well, common head tag. We include the style sheet for the styles. Then we have a section area where we will have this div that will have the button to enable the webcam and the video tag that will display the stream that we can get from the webcam. And this is how easy this is. You just have to include the reference to import the Tensorflow.js library, which is this one, and you can find the URL in the documentation. After loading the Tensorflow.js library, then you go ahead and load the model that you want to use, the pre-made model that you want to use. So in this case, we're using Cocoa SSD, but you will have a look and see all of the other models that are available. So you include TensorFlow, you include the model, and then the script where you manipulate everything that you want to do, what you get from the model, and so on. So it's obviously in that order, and that is all that you need to be able to start using these models in your scripts. Then just going through the code, obviously we're just referencing the DOM elements that we want to use in our code, the webcam, the container, and then the section and the button that allows us to activate the webcam. Then what we do here is just basically checking if the device of the user has access to a webcam. And if it has access to the webcam, we add a listener. So if we click the button, it will enable the webcam. That is all that is happening here. Just checking if the device has webcam support. Then we have, when we execute the enable cam function, we really want to wait until the model is loaded. Otherwise, obviously, the application is not going to function correctly. The model is not very heavy. It's around, I think, 4 megabytes. But still, you don't know. You really want to make sure because you don't know if the connection of the user maybe is very slow. So it's always better to do this. So once the model is loaded, we remove the button because we don't want the user to be clicking the button like a crazy person. And then we pass the constraints. So these constraints are just attributes that you can pass to this object here, like the navigator. And what we're saying is that we want to use the video, but not the sound, because we don't really need sound. We're just going to be recognizing objects, and if we use the sound, it will give like a feedback. So we don't really need it. So in this case, we say we just want to get from the stream just the video, and then we pass the stream to this. We get it from the object, and we set another listener, which is as soon as the data from the stream is loaded, I want to start the prediction, which is this function. And well, this step I'm going to skip it because this is part like of the demonstration. And if you're following along at this point, you will be able to see yourself, but not to be seeing the prediction. So now we see what is that we need to do. to start using the model. So for that, remember that we had in the header, we loaded the library, the model. And what we do is that when the Cocoa SSD model is loaded, we remove just it's a class that it kind of puts, like disable the button to enable the webcam. Because we don't want the button to be available if the model is not loaded yet. So that's why this invisible class is there. So what we're saying is like, okay, the model is loaded, let's remove that class so we can show the button. And then we start predicting the webcam. So the thing is that we get, what do we get from the model, from the inference? We get predictions. And the predictions that we get is basically an array, and each array has the name of the class, which is the object that is recognizing in that frame. It also has the percentage of certainty that object is actually the one that is being recognized. And it also has some points that allow us to draw those bounding boxes around the objects that are being recognized. And then this weird children array, what it does is that every time that because we get those bounding boxes, let's say coordinates, and we draw the bounding boxes, as soon as we get, and we place them into the DOM, as soon as we get another frame, we do the same, but we don't want the previous bounding boxes to stay around, because otherwise, like in 5 seconds, we will have a bunch of bounding boxes. So what the children array does is that we put there all of the bounding boxes that we draw, and when we reload a new one, we just remove the ones that are in the array. We remove them from the DOM, and we have like a blank canvas, if that makes sense. So these are the 4 numbers that we get, the 4 coordinates that we get from the prediction to be able to draw the bounding boxes. And what we do here is that we create a loop that's gonna iterate over the length of the predictions. So for example, if the model is identifying 3 different objects in the image, the predictions array will be size 3. And what we're doing here is that if the prediction score is over 60%, we want to draw the bounding box. But that number is arbitrary. It really depends on what you want to do. It really depends on your project. Maybe you want to have it really high. You just want to draw the bounding boxes on those objects where the model says that by, I don't know, 95% of confidence that is actually that object. Or maybe you would like to put it like way, way lower. And what we're doing here is just adding, drawing the bounding box. We get here the coordinates, and it's just doing all the drawing. And then by the end, we are appending the bounding boxes to the live view container that we had, and we push the bounding box in that children array that I told you about, because you want to remove it later. And then what you do is that you request the next animation frame, and you call the prediction again. So that's basically what it does. And that is how it works, how I told you. I know that I run through it, but again, the repo is available with all of the instructions. You can go and have a look at it, and you can reach out to me if you get a stock or something. So as you can see, we just needed 3 lines for calling the TensorFlow library, the model, and the rest of it is just checking if the browser had access to the camera and drawing the bounding boxes. So now what I want to show you is this part just before I finish, because I think I don't have much time left. This is the second part of the workshop. And this is pretty cool because for this one, we're going to use the teachable machine. So I'm not going to be able to show you this, to walk you through this workshop for the second part, but again, all the instructions are there. But what I do want to show you is the teachable machine, which is super, super cool. So the teachable machine is a web tool that Google has. It's free for you to be able to create your own models within the browser. So I'm going to show you how it works. It's really, really cool. So here it is. And I'm going to just put here the full screen. And I will highly recommend you to go there and have a look at it and play with it. But, and to see all the cool projects that they are using. But I will basically tell you how it works. So you can do 3 types of projects. An image project, which is basically train a machine learning model that does image classification. You can use an audio project, which is training a model that recognizes up to 1 second of sound. And then the post project, which is the one that the Karate Kid used for his application. So I'm going to show you how to use the image project. So you can have 2 different kind of models that you can use. We're going to use the standard one. And the first thing that you can do is to create the classes. So each class are the classes that you want to classify. Yeah, it's kind of redundant. So let's see. I'm going to do myself. Who wants to be a volunteer? Come on, don't be shy. Want to volunteer? All right. Write your name because I'm going to just do a typo. Your name is too complicated.
Yeah, it is. I know. The choice. No, it's not that complicated. No. There you go.
It is. Okay. Okay. So those are the 2 classes that we have. We can add a third, but let's just do 2. And then we need, as any machine learning model, we need the training data, right? So you can provide the training data. Maybe you want to classify dogs and cats, and you have a bunch of pictures of dogs, so you can upload them. But you can also take the pictures with the UI. So that is what we're going to do. So I'm going to use the webcam, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take a bunch of pictures of myself. And what you want to do is also like move your face a little bit, because it's kind of when you train your cell phone to recognize your face that you have to move it a little bit. So that is what we're going to do. I'm going to take like 48 image samples. And now for pause. Come on. Smile. There you go. Okay, that's fine. So now we have our training data. We have our 2 classes. Now we want to train the model. And again, this is web machine learning. The training is happening on the device. We're not sending any picture to Google or anywhere. There are some advanced features that, again, I can't explain because of time, but you can come here and have a look at like what is it about. So you click train model. Depending on the number of classes that you have, and depending on the number, obviously, of pictures that you have per class, it's going to take some time or not. But it's ready. It's done. So as you can see here, it will show the output if it's recognized that it's me or if it's boss. So as you can see, 100% me, which is good. Now you come.
There you go.
Okay. And if we're like the both of us, it's going to kind of like going crazy. Okay. So this is cool, right? We have a machine learning model there. Nice. Yeah, you can go. Thank you. Thank you. Best helper. All right. So this is the cool thing. Now that you have your model working, you can actually export it. And you can export it using Tensorflow.js, so pure JavaScript. You can use TensorFlow. It uses Keras, Python, so on, or TensorFlow Lite. But because we're in the JavaScript Meetup, we don't want those. We just want to use TensorFlow.js. So it's really cool because it gives you the snippet of code that you need to just copy and insert it in your web project, and that's it. You can come, I don't know how long did it take for us to train the model, like less than 5 minutes, and you can just insert it into your project. One thing that you have to be mindful is that you can like download all of the files so you can host them in your server, or you can upload the model to the Google Cloud. One thing that is important is that the training data set is not going to be uploaded. What is going to be uploaded is the model and the weights of the model, which is the information that you need for the model to run. So it's still private in terms that your pictures are on the device. So you have to click Upload My Model, and it will create a URL with the information of your model, and it will include that URL here. As soon as you have that URL included here, you can just come, copy this, and make it run. And what it does, again, like I told you before, it includes the Tensorflow.js library. It includes the model, the pre-trained model for image classification of the teachable machine. And then it has the URL where it knows where to go to have the information of the model. And then it's just, having a look at getting the stream of the webcam, getting the predictions, the same stuff that I explained to you before. The class name, which would be Patty or Boss, the probability, which is the confidence level, and so on. And that is how it works. And just to finalize, is if you have a look at the URL of the model, it basically helps you, like it shows the model running here, and you can have a look at the data that is there. So there is a JSON file with a bunch of metadata. There is another one that has the weights, just a binary file, and another one saying, like, I don't know, the name of the model, the labels for each of the classes, the size of the images, and so on. And that is all. So I will highly recommend you to go. If you're interested in knowing more about Tensorflow.js, you can go and have a look at those resources. If you look for Made with TF.js on social media, you can find really cool and fun projects that the community is doing. And there is also a really cool tutorial that is called From Hero to Zero for Web Machine Learning that is done by the developer advocate at Google for TensorFlow.js, which is, he's called Jason Mays. And that is a really, really cool course on YouTube that you can do about TensorFlow. Is amazing. And yeah, that is all. Do you have any questions? And there are stickers here.
Cool, thanks, Patty. That was absolutely great. I think the thing that I love about stuff like this is that there's so much power out there. It's actually quite simple to get started. Yes. So you see all these cool demos, and you're like, oh, maybe they've only done it with a few lines of code, So
yeah. Actually, one of the other kids in the code club, he did an attendance application. Mm-hmm. So he used the teachable machine to create a face recognition application where the kids will get into the classroom, show their faces. It will take the attendance. It was cool because it helped me also to explain to them like the ethical challenges of using face recognition and responsible AI. It was a good opportunity. And it was also pretty cool because one of the kids found a way to trick it. So he was like, what if I take a picture of my friend with my phone and I show the phone with the picture? And I was like, you're evil, let's test it. So we tried it, and it worked. So yeah, but it was really cool because Louis, I think he was 13 when he did that, and then he got a shout out for the Firebase team at Google in LinkedIn, and he went to the Google developer groups in London to present his project. So you have these teenager kids with basic knowledge of JavaScript doing machine learning with these models. So it's pretty easy to use.
Coming for our jobs,
So you better get ready and keep up.
Cool. Does anybody have any questions for Patty? We'll start down the front here, Jason. Yeah. Can you wait until the mic for the live stream? Cheers.
I'm just interested to know if there are any performance differences between running this on the web and the more kind of traditional ways, the Python ways of doing this. just purely performance-based? I'm just interested to know.
Yeah, well, obviously depends on the project that you're working, but there is like this underground like discussion that because of the way JavaScript is executed, the performance is faster than Python. But it's like a discussion that is going on, and it kind of makes sense. But again, it really depends on the device that you're using, the hardware, but the performance is really, really good. It's really good. Yes.
Like you do it for the image right now, image classification. Same goes for the audio classification, right? So for the audio, what kinds of sounds do you use in that?
You can use any sound. Yeah. You can use the models, the pre-made models that that you can find in Tensorflow.js, and you can do more. But in the teachable machine, you can just create 1 second sounds. So, but if you use it outside the teachable machine, you can do more like longer stuff.
Anyone else? Any questions?
Over there.
Patty, that was amazing.
Thank you.
So inspiring. I want to play with it now. Just interested to know, like, have you built anything interesting yourself? Like, you monitoring anything at home?
Actually, no. I wish I could do something, but I really don't have time. It's kind of depressing, but I would love to. I just create the demos for my workshops and the talks that I do. But yeah, I should do something at home. My kids are always stealing my chocolates. What?
You need to skip the washing up.
Yeah, honestly.
Amazing presentation.
Thank you.
Have you considered like multitasking the same thing, like image processing with the voice, and like having multiple models?
That's a tricky one. I'm not sure how can you implement it in a effective way. I haven't tried it, but yeah, that's interesting. I will need to try it first to give you a proper answer. I just have to think about it. Yeah.
Can I ask just one more?
Yes, of course.
Because I took the mic, sorry. Oh God, it's flying out of bed. That's it. I don't know about TensorFlow. Like, I didn't see it on your list of pre-made machine learning models, but is there one for recognizing human emotion?
No, but I did, like the second workshop that I shared is just that, is to recognize human emotions. So basically what you do in the workshop is that you use a teachable machine and you have a class for smiling. So you can have a bunch of people smiling or yourself smiling a lot, and then another one is being sad and another one, and then it's a very fun one because it's like a wee robot that says like, oh, don't be sad, when it recognizes that you're sad. So with the image classificator, you can just do it. You just have to gather, recognize the classes, and then gather enough information. So yeah, you can definitely do it. Have a look at the second part of the workshop.
Just to add on to what you're saying, after you and I chatted like a month or two ago, we used the Tensorflow.net library, the one that's for C#.
All right.
Because obviously that interacts well with C# and Unity for game dev.
Yes.
We were building a game and we used a facial model, and we didn't have emotions recognized automatically, but we were able to set, for example, sides of mouth are up above this, the mouth is open this. So we were able to make our own parameters for what we decided a smile or a frown or whatever was. So it's not quite what you were asking about, but just to say that with the models that already exist for TensorFlow, you can, with your own kind of creative coding, make that.
You can create your own. It's just like that, yeah. Any other question?
Generative AI and TensorFlow can go hand in hand if they have this data.
Yes, but right now the way that you can use depends on the model, but it's like it's another way of using is dealing with generative AI and LLMs is a little bit different than dealing with these models. But yes, you can use, let's say, Gemini or Llama, Gemma, which is the new one, the open source open model from Google. You can use them with TensorFlow for sure, but it's another monster. Any other question?
Maybe a silly question, but I make the assumption it's open source and or license, open source license that can be used. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. For TensorFlow.js. Yeah. Definitely.
Very important question.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that either.
No. For TensorFlow.js, sure. I just said open model because for Gemma, which is the open model, LLM model from Google, because the way of LLM works, they cannot use like open source licenses, and they decided to call it open model. But it's still it's a different thing.
Cool. Thank you very much, Patty.
Thank you. Come grab your stickers.
Cool. So just a couple of programming notes. One, the Quokka and WallabyJS licenses. Suresh and Jake come and speak to me afterwards. So you have one of those. And thank you to them for donating the licenses. We have got, Alan, if you could shove the graphic that I sent you up. Are you tweeting busily, rather? Cool. So we've got Scottish Technology Club. Am I going to go into infinity here, pressing the wrong button? Nice one. So Scottish Technology Club, which you can find at scottishtechnology.club. There is a link to a Discord server. In that Discord server, we post jobs. Okay, let's just leave it there, Alan. We post jobs, we post the meetup links, and every week I do a little bulletin rundown of all the events I find on Eventbrite and Meetup and anything that anyone sends me, plus content that people have created in the community. So if you check out scottishtechnology.club, you'll find the links for that there. Next meetup is in April. I've hit the announce on meetup.com, so you should be getting a notification in your app just now. Kelsey speaking, thank you, Kelsey, on green software and technology. You can find the link at the QR code there, Scottish Technology Club. So Kelsey's speaking, and we have got Chris Burns speaking about kind of automated API infrastructure sort of governance. We've got Edinburgh.js next week, so if you fancy coming through for that. We've got speakers on Nuxt.js and Astro. Check out the live stream if you're not able to make it in person. At the start of the evening, Francis asked who has side projects, and I saw a lot of hands go up. I would quite like to run a side project evening where people, rather than doing a full, say, 20, 25-minute talk, do a 3-minute talk or a 5-minute talk with maybe like 2 or 3 slides on like a stack that they've done, a little project that they've built, a little kind of cool tool, something interesting in JavaScript. So since a lot of you put your hands up, I'm sure I'll get lots of people coming and chatting to me afterwards about that. It will only happen if people volunteer to speak, if that's something that would be interesting to you, so you can showcase something you've done, or if you're launching it in the App Store and want to you commercialize it and get a little video of you speaking about it, please do let me know. I'm going to be running the same in Edinburgh as well. Yeah, just let me know that. And that is everything that I've written down to tell you. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you to our sponsors, Scotland.js, Glasgow City Council, a little picture from
Yes.
a little selfie.
So if you can just, I think I can get you all.
Lovely.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool.
Get a speaker.
Thank you very much, everybody. Cheers.